Hi. Now, previously on surgery, we had a discussion and we defined surgery, classified types of surgery, classified surgical condition. We defined surgical terminology and identified the main surgical division. On surgery, I told you it's a medical specialty that uses operative, manual, and instrumental techniques on patient to investigate and to treat pathological conditions such as disease or injury and to help improve body function or appearance. Okay, and so we had types of surgery, and I told you we have based on timing we could do elective surgery and emergency surgery. Based on purpose, explorative surgery, yeah, when you want to confirm a diagnosis. Then therapeutic surgery, when you need to treat a previous diagnosed condition, be it a fracture of femur, head of femur, we treat using therapeutic surgery. Okay, cosmetic surgery, done to improve the appearance of otherwise normal structure. You don't have anything ugly or sick, but you need to correct your appearance, the natural birth appearance. So we also classify the surgical condition, talk about emergency surgical condition, urgent surgical condition, elective surgical conditions. Okay, and there we actually finalized on that. We did talk about several other things, and then we discussed terminologies. In terminology, talk about ectomy, which is excision, otomy, cutting into an organ or tissue. Okay, talk about ostomy procedures. We talk about ostomy procedures, and for formation of permanent or semi-permanent opening, which we call stoma in body, that is ostomy. Oplasty, reconstruction. Raphy, repair. Amputation, removal of a body part or a limb. Okay, discuss things to do fistula, sinus, lymphangitis, thrombophlebitis, okay, cellulitis, inflammation, translucency, crepitus, all that one. So at some scale, we were supposed to now discuss, we were to go to chapter 2 or topic 2, that is surgical clerkship. Now on surgical clerkship, I was to tell you, or maybe we were to discuss what is surgical clerkship. Normally we have clinical clerkship, that is medical clerkship. When a patient comes to consultation room, you take the chief complaint, the biodata, and then you detail by knowing history of presenting illness. You do systemic inquiry, past medical history, drug history, social economic history, family history, and then you do summary. Similarly, on surgical clerkship, you have to clerk the patient before you bring in any management, because you will only diagnose through clerkship. So clerkship, that process of history taking. Okay, so first of all, you have to assemble all the available facts gathered from particulars. Biodata, that is the name, the gender, that is sex. Talk about occupation, religion, next of kin, contact information, okay, age or date of birth. All those ones are important in biodata, and we are going to check why do we need to check all of that in biodata. Then chief complaint, we will see what are the chief complaints, how do we need to put down chief complaints when they present, or maybe the patient or the guardian or the informant, somebody who has brought the sick patient, the patient. So when they are in the consultation room, they'll give you their complaint. Those are what we call chief complaint. What reason that has brought them there. History of presenting illness. Now the chief complaints are the presenting illness. Now their history from when they started, any medication taken, any system affected, how severe they affected. So that is history of presenting illness. And then relevant history. Relevant history is just adjacent history which comes from different parts. Okay, so then we are going to check on our analysis and interpret the examination details to read the provisional diagnosis, make differential diagnosis, order for appropriate investigation, and then we select a closest possible diagnosis that is rolled in, and then come up with an effective treatment plan. Okay, so that is that. So yes, now on personal and particulars of what we call biodata, that is one component of surgical clerkship. Just like any other clerkship, you'll first take biodata. Biodata, I've told you the name, the age, the next of kin, the contacts, and all that. Chief complaints comes in. Now patient comes in and you're like, what's your name? How old are you? Where do you come from? What's your residential place? Who is the next of kin? The contact information, and then you're done. Just like some few seconds and you're done. Then chief complaint, now you ask the patient what has brought you, and then history of presenting illness, you now discuss the history or the chief complaint, you review the system, you do past medical and surgical history, and you do family history, personal social economics history, and then after that you do a general examination, that is compiling the physical and systemic examination, then vital sign, then local examination, then other system examination, and then provision diagnosis, and then investigations, and then final diagnosis, and then treatment plan. So we give provisional diagnosis, then investigation, then final diagnosis, then treatment plan. So that is that. So self introduction is very key. First of all, you need to greet the patient by name, introduce yourself, shake the patient's hand sometimes, ensure the patient is comfortable. Personal, before I proceed, greeting the patient should be formal. If you are in a local environment or in a tribe where you don't know the language, just use the internationally or nationally recognized languages like Swahili and English, or maybe French. But then you need to greet the patient by the name. So you'll have already gotten the name. Maybe normally we have health information management system. If you don't have any, call me, I'll install it for you. So greet the patient by name means you will at least have the name. So if it is Marceline, you say hello Marceline, or good morning Marceline, and then from there you will get to introduce yourself. I'm Dr. Ouma, and yeah, I hope you're comfortable being around. You can have a seat, or you can use any formal language, okay? So you ensure the patient is very comfortable. You can even ask and reconfirm, asking by, are you comfortable there, or I should close the door, okay? So comfortability will make the patient to be in a position to explain or express him or herself. So personal particulars or the biodata. So they include, I told you, patient's name. Why do we need a patient name? To communicate with the patient. At least the patient will feel at home and friendly when you know the patient's name. Marceline, hi. Skyna, hi. Adhiambo, hi. All those ones are possible. To establish a rapport with the patient, you also need a name, and you need to exchange names. And also for record maintenance. Remember, you have to keep on this record because for reference, and in any way there'll be any other organization which will require the details of this patient. Maybe nowadays we have insurance company coming for compensation. They'll come in your facility, check if this patient exists in your system. So the name is very important, and the name should be written correctly. You find some facility they have a nurse aide in the receptionist ground, and the nurse aide, some of them don't take interest in the clinical clerkship, so they don't even know. They just, oh, what's your name? Especially the Somali guys with very hard name, and they write it the way it is, even if it is Abdul Kadir or Abdul Malik. The spelling might be interfered with on that process, and that is also a very bad issue, or is a big mistake on the same. So yeah, for psychological benefit as well, when somebody calls your name, you feel satisfied. Talk about age. Why do we need age? Age-related diseases. We have diseases such as dementia, Alzheimer, okay? We have diseases which are very, very technical, and they are just specific for certain age bracket. When you talk about, rickets, we only see rickets in babies, okay, mostly, and only untreated or progressed to adult. Several other diseases, but now degenerative conditions like osteoporosis, osteomyelitis, all these, osteoporosis, blah 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 blah, arthritis, they only affect the aged one. So with the age inquiry, we get to relate the disease, and we can now help ourselves through the diagnosis process. So for diagnosis also, we know that we will only rule in or rule out diagnosis based on age. As well, you can say, this is not this because this one only affect a period of 60 years or 40 years. When talk about benign, BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia, okay, or enlargement of benign gland, prostatic gland, benign enlargement of the prostatic gland. If that happens, you will know that it's supposed to start from this age bracket, even if it is 40 years and above or 60 years and above, and not within 30 unless there's any underlying condition, okay? So age is for diagnosis, age is to inquire about age-related diseases, and for treatment planning. In terms of the bed rest, in terms of the fluid giving, in terms of age works along even the prescription and medication. We have age which the dosage varies from this year to this year, okay? Talk about sex. Certain diseases are gender specific. Certain diseases are only for female, certain diseases are for male. For example, sexual dysfunction only is for male. So you can talk about testicular cancer, carcinoma, talk about things to do with yeah, there are many BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia. It only affects men. When you go to female, talk about endometriosis only for female. Talk about ovarian cancer, ovarian polyps, okay, cervical cancer. All those are for female. So when you know sex, and I know it looks like it's very vague. How do you ask somebody their sex and yet you can see them and confirm to their morphology that they're male or female? No, it's just for confirmation. Nowadays, even there are some people who have transplant, incomplete transplant, or yeah. So they some people they have already transformed to female. So it's very hard to know in this generation that this is a male and this is a female. Okay, residence and address. For future correspondence, view socio-economic status and prevalence and geographical distribution. So we need to know how this person will be corresponding in terms of the next dosage or maybe next visit. So how far is this person living? So residence is just to give where some people live, or like where someone lives. Now, when you want to view social economic status, we know this person is from Madare. We know people in Madare, they are poor, so they have low social economic status. So even the prescription, we have to reduce our prescription to the drug that they can afford. If you have two drugs which perform the same function in a normal efficacy and good, I mean, in terms of therapeutic value and all that, then there's another one which is a bit expensive than the other. We check on the social economic status based on the residence, and then we'll give the cheap one if the person comes from the low social economic status. Now, prevalence and geographical distribution. Some diseases only affect people in the lake region. Malaria is so common in Kisumu and the region, unlike in Mombasa and maybe even in Nairobi a bit. So with, residents, we get to know which diseases and their geographical distributions are common from where the person comes. When Ebola was spreading, somebody with Ebola could only be in West Africa. So geographical distribution is good, and therefore residents will give us that. Talk about occupation. Occupation is also to assess the socioeconomic status, to see on what budget this person can afford in terms of the fee, the charges, the drug purchases, okay, and even number of visits. If transport is needed, can this person commute? Not only that one, the diet for administration of this. There are some drugs which require special diet. So we get to know the occupation so that we can really know whether the stability in terms of finance can help over through the process of medication. Prediction of different diseases in different occupations. People who work in industries such as the lead industry, the chemical handlers, there are some respiratory conditions that they are common with. And this one is hazardous to only that particular person. So occupation will give us rule out possibility. If somebody comes with acute respiratory symptoms, we have to take on occupation to know whether that might be the case, whether this person is working on a lead company, and if not, if this person is also working in a facility. We know nosocomial infection, the infection that comes along with the residents in the hospital, acquisition of bacteria from other people who are sick, malaria from mosquitoes which are living within the ward. So that is that. So occupation is definitely to give us or to roll in the diagnosis and probability of different diseases in different occupations. Religion. Various religions comes in different modulated doctrines, beliefs and customs that might impact on the treatment and modality. So to identify, to make sure that our treatment is well embedded, belief and custom must be taken into consideration. So beliefs and customs that might impact on treatment modality, we have to know based on their religion. And then to identify festive periods when religious people are reluctant to undergo treatment, like when you talk about Christmas Eve in Christianity, okay, yeah, when the Muslim always also go to their Eve, we know that they cannot come for visit, and yeah, and so it is something else. You have to check on to that when you're giving prescription. So patient's registration number, maintain records, billing purpose, medical legal aspect, those registration number. Outpatient number is very key. Outpatient number is very key in a way that it will help the patient. If it was an assault case or accident or anything to do with the police case, they will always follow with the outpatient number, OPD number, okay? and if it was the patient was admitted, in patient number is very also key. Okay, if the laboratory was actually one of the procedures, investigation of the laboratory number should also be taken into consideration. So in the next session, we'll talk about surgical clerkship, chief complaint. We'll discuss it, history in details and all that. Thank you so much. You can always follow and register, subscribe in our YouTube channel as many times as you can.